4 years now. And recently, both of my parents kind of independently went through kind of a workers' comp claim where they were dealing with the carrier and like the return to work program and everything. And so my background is actually in computer science and information technology. And so I'm really interested in kind of building solutions for claims adjusters like my sister to be able to do their work more effectively and help injured workers like my parents get back to work faster and with kind of less headache. And so I'm really just here to kind of absorb what's going on in the world and how I might be able to contribute. And I've been kind of doing this kind of work for around six months now.
Right.
So,
Welcome.
and so you said about 6 months now. That was
Yep.
kind of a tail
About
end
6
there. All right.
Yep.
Excellent. Well,
It's great to meet
thank
you
you.
all. Excited to learn from you guys.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Eric. We appreciate you being here and joining up with us. I'll just go around based on my squares from here. Uh, Next person that I've got on my screen is our case management expert in-house here at workerscompensation.com, Ann Llewellyn. Go ahead, Ann. Let us know what you're up to. Give us an introduction of who you are.
Thanks, Frank. Glad to meet everybody here. And I'm a nurse, nurse case manager, and I've been in case management since 1988. I used to work for Intracor, which is a large case management company. Now it's known as GenX. It's been purchased, and maybe it even has another name at this point. But I got my basic training through Intracor, which really many people say that was the University of Intracor, who taught us, many of us, how to be case managers. I was a catastrophic case manager, so dealt with pretty complex cases, head injury, spinal cord. Initially, I was a group health in the group health space, which was just general insurance. So anybody who got a traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, cancer, AIDS, transplants, we really had a variety of cases that we worked with. And Intracor worked with large employers, so those employers we would work for their employees. And then I transferred into the workers' comp world when I left Intracor and went into independent practice. And so I kind of freelanced, if you will, but stayed in the area of workers' comp. And again, worked with the same type patients, catastrophic, but also just regular patients who just couldn't go back to work. Maybe they had a fractured wrist and they were a laborer and they couldn't really use that hand because it fracture and the fracture was still healing. But so we were assigned to those cases to help with return to work. Sometimes they were more complex than the catastrophic cases, just because of the complications of the system, which Eric, you're probably, experiencing with your sister. So having a case manager to work with the adjuster, to work with the injured worker, to work with the doctor, to work with, the employer helped expedite that return to work. Even if we could get them into light duty, get them into something where, many employers have jobs for people to go to, that they can't go back to their regular job, but they could do a light duty job. And the benefit of that is that the patient, when they're on workers' comp, they're usually paid a lower salary. And many people struggle with that. So getting people back to a light duty job allows them to go back to work at their full salary because they're back to work, but they still have restrictions, which is where we come in to make sure that the job that they're going to go to, they won't get re-injured or worse. So the employer needs to understand that. We don't want somebody to go back to work to any job. We want them to go back to a job that's going to fit their needs, fit their restrictions, and help them do well. So that is where I come in as a nurse case manager, workers' comp case manager, to be able to assist with that. And it's really it's very fulfilling to be able to do that because people want to go back to work and they just don't know how to. And the employers, many employers, because they're small employers, don't have the means to make accommodations for those workers. So it puts everybody at an advantage, but we're able to work with the adjuster, maybe call in a voc rehab person to help that person see what else they can do besides the regular job that will fit their restrictions. So we really try to bring the team together and look at what the issues are, the barriers of return to work, and getting that patient back to functional status, empowering that patient to really take over their own care. Many times we finish with a case, but they're long-term cases. The settlement happens, but the patient still, or the injured worker still has problems. And our job as nurse case managers is to people to ask questions, to find resources that will help them because, their injury could impact the rest of their lives depending on what it was. So, Donna and I have worked together. We've collaborated together on many cases. So I know Donna probably will add to this, but that's really my role. And the earlier that we're called in to a case, the better, because we really help from that first report of injury, getting the patient medically, helping to get the patient medically stable, getting the resources they need to help them do well. And the earlier that we're called in, the better. So I'll stop there.
Thanks so much, Anna. Appreciate that. And that's a good segue into Donna Check.
Hi, I'm Donna Check, and I am I share that I am someone that is seasoned. I'm a seasoned person. Have been working in the field of brain and spinal cord injury for over 30 years. And I did start young, I have to say that, but it was a passion. It developed into something that was real. And just from where I'm coming from, I ended up, I wanted to be a nurse, I guess, when I was little, but we were Christian Scientists. So that was, kind of out of the question. And when I heard what a Christian Science nurse does, it was not a lot of fun. They just basically apply like little water bandages and stuff. So, but, when you look at what it is that you end up doing, and it's involving workers' comp and health insurance and the whole system. I came from a background that I guess was a caregiver. I ended up taking care of a lot of my family at a very young age, not realizing it until later. But what I end up seeing in, my world, when you are in a rehab and you are with this patient and you're dealing with everyone. When they're in a rehab, you're dealing with the case manager, an adjuster, the claim supervisor, the claimant attorney, the defense attorney. Sometimes there's a personal injury attorney because the FedEx truck hit the guy while he was working in the other truck. And you've got all of these people, and you've got your therapists and your doctors. And so I've always described what it is like in a wagon wheel, and that we're in the middle. In the rehab, you're in the middle of it, and all of the spokes are all the different people that you're dealing with. And what I have found, and I'm a continuing ed instructor, I'm a workers' comp instructor as well, for over 20 years. But I have been talking about how these cases, how they start, and just, looking at what we're trying to do is talking about the industry. A lot of the cases, what Ann said, is something that I am a firm believer in. The case begins at the onset of injury. And that first phone call is the most important phone call. And so is the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And particularly when it's a serious injury, catastrophics is what I would be able to talk about. A couple of them that have not been that serious. But most of the time, you have whoever is making that phone call is talking with the family member. They're not talking with the injured employee. And that family member has no clue about what happened. They don't know it's workers' comp. And unless somebody calls them in that first half hour after that injury occurs and is the contact, that family gets lost. They are what I hear, in again, when you're in rehab, that family depends on you in your rehab. It's like, thank God we're here. First they fight it. No, he can come home. Right, Ann? Oh, he can go
Yeah.
home. And Ann says, no, 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 no. Do you want him to lay in bed or do you want him to get better and start walking again? Do you want him to do things? That's what you try to do in rehab. And to me, the most important thing is that initial contact. And the case managers are not put on these cases early enough. They're still trying to figure out the claim. They've got the attorney, the defense attorney's looking at it. They send an investigator. There's all this other stuff going on. Yet that human factor for many, many, many years, I think it's getting better, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be because I still am consulting and I see some of the issues that are ongoing. But that first call is the most important. And so I have been talking about it, and I have actually, a system kind of put together that would do that. And really all it is very easy. It's having somebody like a case manager immediately get that case manager, whoever it is, contract with whoever company, get that case manager. That's the one person who's going to be the contact, nobody else. And having that family member, just picture, you've got Ann, you've got me, you've got you, Frank, you've got Eric. That's your one contact. You don't have to talk to 6 other people. You have one person that is disseminating the information, not giving legal advice, not giving adjuster advice, someone who is connecting with the family and telling them this is what happens. And just that first call, just the first call. So this is, when you look at your history and, why are you here? My why is to make this better. And I'm tired of people talking about it. I say that all the time. I keep seeing, I saw something yesterday on Change and I just wrote the word action, capital letters. Like, I'm tired of talking about, let's narrow, what is it? Change the narrative. We've been doing that for how many years? I think since 2020, since COVID. Okay, it's time for action to take place. And, I thought I was gonna, get out. I thought I was gonna get out of brain and spinal cord injury rehab, but the company that I was with, that I set up and built from scratch, from nothing, we ended up selling it in October of 2022. So now I'm consulting for them. So, but I still, and Ann knows. Ann called me a couple of months ago with a case. Like, I'm not, and she didn't know I was consulting, but it's like you're still in there, and the passion is never going to leave me. And when I get a phone call from somebody that says, I have this family, I don't know what to do, and part of me is wants to tune it out because I'm like, oh my God, I've been advocating for years. Ann knows. I'm like, I stand up in meetings. I mean, I will definitely talk about these are real issues that we need to start addressing, not talking about them anymore. What are we doing? What are we doing? And need to get it in place because risk management is involved. Okay. They're looking at what's the cost. A lot of people don't see that. Risk management, when they get in there, they're like, wait a minute, what is this going to cost us? Okay. So if that's the case, I look at us having, look at the whole beginning of the case. That sets the tone. And
For how much it's going to cost.
And it does. It's the cost. And it's a patient experience is such a horrible thing when you think about they're in a place that they have a call button or there's supposed to be somebody there. They're not there. You got a family calling. No one's answering the phone. His phone is stuck under, the toilet seat over there. You've got all of these things happening. All of these things are happening. But if that initial person, and that person doesn't stay there forever, by the way, I look at that as a separate, completely different. That person can always be contacted. because you want to lose that, because you want to make sure that if something goes wrong, that's the person they're going to call, and that person is immediately going to take care. Let me get whoever is involved, but they're not involved anymore. Okay. But that family they're all going on fear. They're going on, I've said this before, the thoughts. I know what the families are thinking. They're not thinking, oh, is he going to die? Yeah, they think that. But they also think, who's going to pick up the kids at 3 o'clock? Oh my God, do I need 2 cars? Did he pay the mortgage? They're thinking about real life things and they're scared to death. And then no one's talking to them. Sometimes, by the way, and this is a lot of people in the industry that are doing the assessments and going out and meeting families, they'll tell you the same thing. They're not in there a week later. Nobody's contacted them. Nobody. And they still
Yeah.
don't know we don't know what happened in the accident because then the employer is told not to call. Okay, so somebody says to the employer too, no, don't call them. Could be litigated. They could go, don't talk to them. Meanwhile, we got a person going, did he do something wrong when he fell off the crane? Is he covered? Are they mad at him? All of these things. And as I said, I have, there is something that I know can be done about this. And I would love to see action taken by a company that stands up and says, you know what, let's try it. Let's try doing making that initial contact and having try something different, try something new. So,
Yeah,
but I don't
I
see it
will
happening.
I will say some companies are working with employer groups, and I've seen it in different states also. I live in Florida, but I've seen it in other states where the employers, the workers' comp carrier is working with the employers to really understand the whole system.
Mhm.
And that communication is so important at the first report of injury, because just think of yourself, you get hurt, you get taken to an emergency room, and then the whole system takes over. And you don't even know what's happening and who's going to pay for it and what's going to happen to my family. So that all those questions, and then so having somebody like Donna said, be that person who comes to the emergency room, who makes that visible presence, that is usually a case manager,
But it
because
doesn't
that
happen for days, as you know, days and
no, but
sometimes
in
weeks.
some companies
Yeah.
it does. I will
Yeah.
say we've seen first report of injury be more of a priority in the insurances, but yes, sometimes it doesn't. For those that do, they see the patient in the ER, they talk to the emergency room doctor,
Yep.
they see the consultants who are coming in, if it's depending on what the case is, and really just try to explain the healthcare system,
Right.
because that in itself is complex.
Right.
So, we do, as Donna and I both, I've been, like I said, 1988, and, it has changed, but still the same issues that we've talked about. I was at a presentation one time, and the speaker said, I could use my slide deck from 1989 and still talk about the same things.
Right.
Which is like, why? And it's because the healthcare system, and Eric, if you're a layperson, you probably are starting to see this with the different issues, but it all runs on money. It's all about money. It's really not about the person. And until we bring the patient, the injured worker, whatever we're going to call them, the father, this husband, the sister, the brother, in as the most important person in this system, we're going to continue with the barriers
Right.
that cause problems.
It's the human side that's missing. That's the component. And there are so many people that are involved. And that's, we're talking about that all the time. But again, we need to stop talking about it and do something about it. If everybody was to focus on, again, I've been quoted, I have my quotas out there somewhere also. Everybody focuses on the patient. It all comes out the way it's supposed to. Just treat that
Mhm.
person like it's the person you love the most in your life. And by the way, I never say family because a lot of people don't like their families. So the person that you like, Somebody at Travelers said that to me of North Carolina, like around 2008, I think. They were like, well, I don't have anybody in my family that I like. And I sat there and thought, oh, I got to change that quote to say the person you love most in your life.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you
I
know,
mean,
the,
anyone who gets injured is scared. I mean, I'll be very transparent. I had a brain tumor in 2014. And that was, I'd been a nurse already as an LPN since 1973. But that experience changed how I practice my profession now as a case manager, because I never really realized how hard it was to be a patient.
yes,
It's very difficult.
yes.
From the medical side to the insurance side to your employer. I lost my job
Mhm.
as soon as I got diagnosed. And, it was like, oh my God, thank God. This is what I'll tell everybody here. Make sure you have disability insurance,
Right.
because that's what helped me and my husband survive that. We would have lost our house because I had no money. There was no income. After, you paid your vacation time and your health insurance, your health care, your days off, your sick time. After that, if you lose your job, there's no more money. And you go into your savings. And that, the cost of healthcare just in itself, without the cost of your mortgage, without the cost of your car payments, without the cost of food, is astronomical. And that's
Right.
why bankruptcy is the number one
Mhm.
reason for bankruptcy is healthcare costs.
It is.
So, now on workers' comp, those people are lucky who get lucky, and I'll use that air quotes, who get hurt on the job because it's covered. Your medical care is covered. There's no out-of-pocket costs like you would on a commercial insurance. And you get the best care if you have people helping to direct it that you need to get better, to go to that final goal, which in our role and my role as a nurse case manager is return to work.
Mhm.
Or as they say, MMI, maximum medical improvement. There's people who reach MMI still can't go back to work.
Right.
And that they're in a difficult position because again, the settlement's made. You get X amount of dollars and good luck. But
Right.
your care can continue. You lose your health insurance over this. So there's so many issues that impact a person when they're injured. Workers' comp cushions it a little bit because it covers those things. But you
Right.
still have out-of-pocket costs, like your life, the life that you had.
And medications, it's interesting that you're talking about that. The thing that we had a discussion about this because it comes up. Everybody, they have a workers' comp injury and they're working and they're hardworking. And I've had people that were like employee of the year for 3 years in a row and they have get a severe injury. And they were on antidepressants and they were on anxiety meds and they might have been on some just different meds. And when they go in the hospital, everything's covered. When you move into a rehab, okay, everybody's now looking at, wait a minute, oh, we're not paying for these 3 medications. So the guy has his health insurance, okay, and the health insurance is still going to have the copay, right? We already know what's going to happen if it's a severe injury. He's not working. Okay, so what's going to happen with his money? His money goes down. Okay, a lot of times somebody's going to say, okay, we don't need to pay for his health insurance because he's covered by workers' comp because families are not educated. They think they can let that go. And then you have all these medications, and I used to jokingly, sarcastically, New York style, would say, "Oh, that's great. Let's not give him the Prozac, and oh yeah, let's not give him the Xanax that he needs to take, like if he's, whatever. It's let's try it, let's see what happens." But you can't do that, and that's like again, we're talking about a holistic person. And it's how much is it going to cost? You know what I mean? And look at the whole claim. It's not like he's on OxyContin and, he's got like these huge medical bills. It's medication that's, cost effective for everybody because it's on your group health policy. Some of them are inexpensive. Even if they're not, you have this other issue where workers' comp is going to be controlling your life. And that's the other thing, is people feel as if they've got all of these, people, and the patients, particularly with brain injury and spinal cord injury, they feel like they're disappointing everyone because they can't walk and they can't hold the straw and they can't, he can't speak right, and, he's not even swallowing right, and I can't, I'm not swallowing my food. It's this frustration that they get also. And that just adds to what I'm talking about, is having that you need this person that is really more than, to me, it's more than a case manager, because you have the case manager has work to do in addition to being that loving, caring person for the patient. So to me, there's got to have there's something else that's missing from the component, because how many case managers have I talked to? Well, I'm in the car driving and they're in the car driving and they're going, hold on, I got to dictate something. So they're talking to me, but they're still dictating what they just did in the doctor's office from someone while they're going home. And then they have to do reports when they get home at 8 o'clock. So, and
they
here
have
I
the
am.
crash, workers'
Right,
comp.
right. Right. So this, okay, so like I've been doing this a long time, so I've got everything covered.
Yeah.
But I have to say that, what the one I've reached out, I believe, and Frank, or Eric, I'm sorry, Eric, if you haven't read my articles, go on LinkedIn and just read 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And the title of my article scared the crap out of everybody, but I have been telling people for 20 years, I'm going to write an article or a book. And I've told them I'm going to call it what I called it, which is, why are we saving people diagnosed with catastrophic injuries? Now, I had over 6,000 people open it to look at it. Not everybody wanted comments, but I'm not
Yeah.
saying we should kill them. What I'm saying is, why are we saving them? Okay. And if you read my articles, you see what I'm talking about. 24-year-old guy gets in an accident. Okay. He's in a coma. He's been in the hospital. We have spent millions, or actually the insurance company, self-insured company. His dad works for a huge company, everyday word that you all know, works for this company. You get this kid, he's in, I can't believe that. I mean, I had the conversation I had with this woman. She is and I had to say, I'm sorry, you're a registered nurse? Okay, I get the phone from one of my case managers and she says, I can't talk to this lady. I'm gonna scream. So I get on the phone and she says, yeah, I'm calling blah 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 blah. I just want to let you know, have you done family training on so and so? Have you had the family, and have you done a home assessment? And I'm like, okay, he just got here yesterday. It's Wednesday morning. Okay, he just got here. We have 72 hours to do a complete assessment, find out what we think we're able to do to tell him what to do. What are we going to do? How are we going to help this guy? She's, well, I'm only going to cover him till Friday, so I can get whatever equipment you need. I said, okay, well, you don't understand.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere. Well, but I'm only paying for it. I said, okay. He's not going anywhere. He's staying here. So I don't care what you're authorizing or what you're paying. He is going to stay here. We have an obligation, first of all, in 72 hours under our license to do this. And I said, but he's a human being. He's in a coma. He can't go home. And I said, so, but you have to say it over and over. And I finally said to her, look, we're going to get the plan done. I'm going to, send it to you. And I said, and then we'll tell you what we think. And then you decide what you want to do. But he'll be here a long time. And, you have, again, how many millions of dollars did they pay for him to be in the hospital? Okay, for 2.5 months. How many millions of dollars? All the surgeries they did on this kid, all of the surgeries. And now we're going to put him, where they wanted to put him, at home with just nothing. Or we could put him in a nursing home. We could put him in skilled nursing and see, we'll water him, feed him, and see how he does in the corner over there. Because it's not going to be the same as getting some type of specialized treatment for a brain injury. So, and by the way, that was years ago. This kid is driving around in his own wheelchair. He's kind of a maniac in the chair, which is good. That's probably, part of his personality that we never saw. But his parents are happy. He seems happy. But he's alive. He talks, he eats, he can't walk. But this is somebody who, what would have happened? And also, how much money would it ultimately have cost whoever's paying the bill to continue his life for how long? There's nothing wrong with his heart. Okay. So you think about, how long is this person going to basically be just lingering, not malingering, lingering, as a body in a bed. So,
Mhm.
why are we saving these people if we're not going to do something with them when they get to the point of, okay, he's moving into a rehab. Now let's do whatever we need to do. Let's take the money. Let's do what we need. Let's get him as good as he can get to get him home or whatever. But he's still there because he cannot be managed at home. So he's got some behavioral issues. He's got some other things, but he's also there. I mean, I shouldn't say this out loud. He's there and there's nobody paying his bill for years. So
This is,
when I said he's not going anywhere, I meant he's not going anywhere. Okay, we did get paid for months, but it took an act of God. And if you read the article, you'll see what I did. But that is something that's, our healthcare system. And I will say that Captain Kelly and the senator, what's her name? Abby, the senator that was shot in
Yeah.
Arizona. The two of them could change
Gabby
healthcare.
Gifford.
Gabby Gifford, they could change healthcare because they're exactly what you were talking about. If they were regular family, and with the injury that happened to her, she'd be out of the hospital in 6 weeks to 2 months. And she'd be home with what? Not home health, because those benefits would run out. Because if he had a regular job and they weren't both millionaires, okay, it would be a very different story. They both had unlimited health care, okay, not workers' comp, but unlimited health care to whatever they wanted. And that
Federal
is
insurance.
right. That is not the typical Mr. and Mrs. family of America. That is very unusual. And just as you said, I have watched patients, going through the whole system, and I have seen what happens to them in 4 to 6 months with the bills and the car and the mortgage, water being turned off. I'm having to write letters to the utility company. I mean, things that, rehab. What do you do in rehab? Well, we'll do it. We'll write the letter. We'll go and talk to someone. We'll go and stand up at a meeting. But those are the things that, our whole system is so broken that we need to find, is there a system in the world that works? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, I think there is. I think there is in other countries, but Frank, I didn't know, is Cindy on the call?
Yeah, thank you for that.
I'm here.
oh, hi,
Like
Cindy.
to
I didn't even see you.
I'd
I'm
There's
like
a
to
little
give
here.
dot on
Cindy a
my
Hi.
chance
screen.
to introduce
Oh,
herself. So go for it, Cindy.
I'll
There
pop
she
up.
is.
Hi. Nice to meet everybody.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Cindy.
Nice to meet you.
Cindy is my teammate, and is very much the glue that sort of keeps things together here at workerscompensation.com. She wears a lot of hats. You can tell us more, Cindy, about what you do
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to sum up. I
It is.
do wear a lot of different hats. I started off coming here. My friend is in the IT department and kind of brought me on because I was familiar with HubSpot, which is a CRM. And I knew from the sales side because I had used it at my previous jobs. I was in the promotional products business for 24 years. So that's where, my knowledge really was. Um, Ended up doing a deep dive into HubSpot, learning the back end. So kind of doing that, helping our president Bob, helping him along with sales emails, things like that, and with Frank and Claire, we work together on different ideas to put out there. So kind of, like he said, a little bit of everything. But I appreciate hearing
Cindy's
you guys' stories, and I am trying to learn more about the industry, as I'm taking everything on to kind of figure out new direction kind of for us to go into. We're looking to really, kind of revamp the products, make sure we have the most up-to-date technology information and things like that, because we definitely have a changing world in technology. So.
Cindy is definitely a rock star around here, and I can do what I do without her help, and I think that goes across the company and a bunch of areas. So big time thanks to Cindy. And like me, you know, I think Cindy's an example of, you know, a lot in the contemporary workplace, probably a lot in the post-COVID workplace of where you jump in, get hired to do one thing, and then your job description changes as you go. At least, you know, that's been my experience. I came from a publishing background, um, writing on legal compliance for most of my career. First, to disability law, some employment law, and education law. And what was interesting is when I got into this, it was my perspective was to sort of go into it the way I did with those topics. And then, even though those areas have a human dimension to it, you know, if you have a child with special education needs, there's a, you know, kind of a human dimension to it. I was really impressed when I got into this, and that's when I start talking to people about workers' compensation and what it involves. It's a very human field because of the types of things that Anne and Donna have been speaking to here this afternoon. You know, something that's potentially a hugely life-changing event for you and your family that you didn't see coming at all. Um, and that's sort of become for me in this role has sort of become a motivation for, you know, why I do and what we do here at this company. So I'm glad that both of you touched on those topics because I think that's, you know, that's really what this space is about. You know, and on the one hand, if you look at it and say, okay, it's dollars and cents or it's stats and regs and things like that, but then when you get into what's actually happened here, it's a tremendously human, deeply personal thing. You know, and a psychological thing too. I mean, a very mental component to workers' compensation and how it affects you and your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I have a title for my next article, Frank. The first call.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny because this is, you know, people say, how do I write? And I'm sure your other authors would say this too. Um, how do you get your ideas to write? And it's just by listening. Eric said a few things when he was introduced. You've said a few things. Cindy, Donna, you know, and these are topics that, you know, people, if they can see it in an example, they say storytelling is so important, you know, and so people recognize. I'm very active in the Case Management Society of America, and we've gone to Washington, D.C., and you go before members of Congress. Mostly you meet their staff. You don't really meet the congressman or senator, but you meet their staff. And if we could just tell a story about maybe how a bill is going to impact people, it makes a difference. It helps them think about it in a little different way. So telling your story and explaining a situation as Donna did with the examples that she saw from her rehab center, you know, we're all in this because we care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the system that is challenging, you know, and how do you fix a system? It's like trying to turn the Titanic, you know, before it hits that iceberg and breaks. And we've said this for years that our healthcare system is unsustainable in the way it's run, but we aren't really changing it because it's too hard. And so, you know, that's where, and the writers that you bring, Frank, as you say, really do touch on different perspectives. And it's a great way for people to learn. I really try to encourage people to subscribe to the publication to get it because there are so many diverse topics that people can learn. Even the lay public can learn from it because, again, it tries to explain a complicated system. So thank you for what you do. Thank you, Cindy, for your innovations in it. And you know, we're going to see a lot of technologies come that are going to change the way we all work and think and do. But, you know, at the whole heart of this system it's about people. Can't forget that, and so that's what I try to bring.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to thank you guys again for sharing your stories, especially as case managers. I've been looking at this a lot from the perspective of the claims adjuster, who also at times serves as kind of a liaison between the lawyers and the doctors and the injured workers when there isn't a case manager assigned. And from talking to these claims adjusters, they often want to play this role of saying, I want to represent the workers' interests, but often because of kind of the pressures of having 150 claims open, they don't have the kind of the time to dedicate to each individual. Like they don't have
Mhm.
the bandwidth to be as empathetic as they could be across 150 claims at a time. And so I really appreciate kind of the case manager's role in this, and have the question of why don't these case managers get assigned sooner. And as I've explored that, of course, it's this piece that you guys have discussed about the incentives of these insurance carriers and how you can align the things, because they're talking dollars and cents, while when you get down to the injured worker, they're talking about deeply personal things. And so, what I'm really exploring is how can we make the case that actually doing the most human thing is also the most practical thing for as many parties as possible. And so, in aligning those interests and in kind of bringing that awareness through these conversations, can we actually convince them that earlier and better proactive handling of the case and better care for the workers is actually also the most financially responsible thing to do. And so just kind of looking at the system from all of these angles is something I'm really excited to get into, and appreciate your guys' stories here.
Great. Boy, Eric, you really summed it all up. Congratulations. I think if we listen to people, we listen to the we're in this, we are living, breathing this industry. But Eric, you're a layperson who is impacted by it from a family member or even through yourself. So I'm so impressed that that you've taken the initiative to really look into it and see what the challenges are, and then look at some fixes to those challenges. I don't think they'd be real difficult.
Mhm.
It's just, making change. Nobody likes change. We've always done it like this. It's always worked like this. So, but you've really put, an exclamation point to everything we've said so
Mhm.
succinctly. Congratulations.
Yeah. And
And
the
also,
adjusters are overwhelmed. I mean, and then, I mean, I should have prefaced it by that because, dealing with them and being in front of them and doing the continuing education for so many years, I've been right in the carriers. I used to go all over the country and present and go to conferences, and, you're listening to, what they're dealing with. And I
Mhm.
have to tell you, sometimes, after, when I used to go up to Travelers in North Carolina, I used to talk for 4 hours because they didn't have a lot of people that came in there. So I would do like 4 hours like CEUs. So, but I would literally, when I'd finish, I would have a line of them like lined up with their files. Okay.
Mhm.
And this was like 2004, 5, 6, 7. And they would want to talk about like, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? This is different situations because the 4 courses were different. But
Mhm.
even then, like they were just sitting there, they would talk to me about, I have like 70 claims like this, which used to just like,
Mhm.
like crazy. And some of them were also malingering, brain injury that some people thought were, I call it the POF, the liar, liar, pants on fire, type of a diagnosis or complaint.
Sure.
And, you can't put that in writing, of course, but we all know what that meant. Um, but even those, claims and how much time those would take, and they're overwhelmed, and that's part of the issue. And then, of course, getting them to assign the case manager that they want, they have to stop what they're doing, take the time out for this catastrophic case, get the case manager, call them, tell them. You can be talking a day or two. I mean,
Yeah.
even a day or two makes, I'm sorry, but even the first hour makes a difference. I call it the initial onset of injury, the first 30 minutes of that, when it happens, having that employer have somebody to call, whoever that person is that says, we're going to call this number and we're going to get somebody on this right away. And that's the person. And then that person gently hands it to that case manager. So, but I mean, I didn't want to not say that. Also, Anne, I have an article that I'm just about to push out, and it's talking about exactly what we're talking about. Because have you gone to my website at all and
Mhm,
seen,
mhm.
okay, the onset of injury? Yeah.
Yep.
So, yep. So, but anyway, I have an article that I'm working on. Maybe I'll send it to you first so that we don't clash. We can do it together if you want to do that too.
No, yeah, sure. But, Eric, just, I think that is true about the number of cases. I actually was talking to an adjuster yesterday. I said, how many cases do you have? Because it took her a while to get back to me, and I kind of needed to talk to her about moving forward with a situation that we had. She had over 140 cases that she
Right.
was managing herself.
Crazy.
So, I mean, they used to tell us at Intracor, again, when I was training, don't we had a caseload, maybe 30,
Mm-hmm.
and that was high.
Was
Now
high.
we were case management and we were catastrophic on site. We would have to go to appointments and different things, but I remember a supervisor saying, if you have more you have to be responsible to tell us that you can't take any more cases. Because if you don't, you're just putting out fires. You're really
Mhm.
not doing case
Right.
management in the
Yep.
sense that we were trained to do case management. You're
Yes.
just putting out fires, and that doesn't help. I mean, you're right, Donna and Eric. If we do what needs to be done, that's what's going to save money. That's what's going to help get that person back to that gainful employment. That's what's going to help them get back to work so they can pay their mortgage, so they can be productive. We used to even say in pediatrics, like if we don't teach parents how to take care of their kids and help those kids, get into a good, program, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have that. They're going to be the Medicaid recipients of the
Yes.
future.
Yeah.
And so much, and that's what I mean. Like if we just do it right from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we're at. So
Yeah.
thanks for the time, Frank.
Yes. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you all. That's probably a good point to start closing up. I have the next one scheduled for Monday, the 30th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you can
What
make it
time?
great, 11 a.m.
On the
Eastern.
30th?
Yes, and
So,
like I say, hopefully a few others can make. I know I had a few yeses for that one that couldn't make it to this one. So, like I said, we'll try to keep these, and I'll even though there's going to be a varying schedule, I'll try to give a week, 10 days notice, so you can plan for it. But
yeah.
sort of come and go as you need to, and I appreciate it. This is great discussion, a great kickoff, and Eric, good to meet you and good to be in touch with you. So. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I
And
love
where
that you
will,
came on, Eric. I think
yeah.
that's absolutely fabulous that you came on to listen to this and participate. And, just what you added is again, definitely cued me about the caseload that these adjusters have. It's well,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it.
Thank you guys for sharing what you did, and it's been a pleasure to learn. And I'm continuing to try to figure out, kind of from all angles, kind of where the problems are and how I might be able to find a space in here to help as well.
When Kamala Harris gets elected, you can be part of HHS and update the healthcare system.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. Thank you guys.
Well, thank
Okay.
I
you.
support your nomination for the head of HHS, Eric. We're going to get that rolling now. Start getting the campaign going for you.
We'll get a
Yeah.
move
Well, thank
on.
you for doing this, Frank.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Looking
Frank.
forward to talking more. And if you need anything, just reach out to me. You guys know how to get a hold of me.
Okay. Have a good
All
day,
right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye,
much, you too.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye now.
Cindy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Nice to meet
Bye.
you.
Same here. Bye.